Now at 5, as the courts sort out federal funding, one program could be left on the side of the road here in Wisconsin. We have new details on an overnight incident that included SWAT canine units and negotiators. And a heart transplant helps a Wisconsin father get back on the basketball court. You're watching News 3 Now at 5. Thanks for staying with us at 5, everyone. Eric is off this week. We begin with the weather. Some snow. A lot of people have waited a long time for some measurable snow. Blaze Keller is on the patio with the details. Blaze?
Yeah, myself included. I mean, this is going to be a really welcome sight for area farmers who have planted some winter crops, for snow removal companies, private and commercial, skiers, snowshoers. We are anticipating maybe the biggest snow of winter so far. That's why we've gone ahead and issued an alert day for your Wednesday into Thursday. It looks like a wide area of southern Wisconsin could pick up at least 3 inches of this wet, heavy snow. We're looking at the European model, the GFS model, Wednesday, 6 p.m. And then we look at our now short-range models because they're beginning to get within the time frame to pick up this system on their data run. They don't go as far out. So they're beginning to pick up the system that we first told you about maybe late last week, that it was maybe looking to impact us, and it continues to look as though it is going to impact us. Closer to Lake Michigan, that's where we could see upwards of 6 inches of snow, the dark blue. But a majority of southern Wisconsin, anywhere between 3 to 6 inches of snow. Further north and west, 1 to 3 inches of this wet, heavy snow. Winter storm watch for a handful of counties. We put this on our Facebook page through Thursday at 3 a.m. And if you're not in an alert, the National Weather Service has been mulling over and will likely put the rest of our News 3 Now coverage area in some sort of winter weather alert advisory in the next day or so. Tonight, single digits and teens, a little bit of snow as well possible. We'll talk about that and dive more into the system arriving Wednesday in the full forecast.
All right, Blaze, thank you. If you own an electric car, there may be some roadblocks ahead for getting your battery charged. The Trump administration put a pause on a national program that was building EV charging stations. And our Merrill Hubbard spoke with local EV experts to see how this pause affects drivers here in Wisconsin.
In Madison, it's not uncommon to see EV charging stations like this one. But if you can't find these stations in other areas in the state, it could put your battery life on the line.
There was definitely a learning curve.
Sebastian Bisogno got his electric car about a year ago.
I use it mostly in the city.
He says that he finds charging stations in cities no problem, but
going into the rural areas is a bit more challenging. I just went out west of here, driving about 2 hours, and I'm relatively confident that there were no charging areas that I could use.
The Wisconsin Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program aims to address the scarcity of stations in rural areas. But as of February, the federal government put this program on pause.
I think this would have a particularly bad impact on rural areas.
Sam Denisti works for Renew Wisconsin, a nonprofit dedicated to the advancement of renewable energy in the state. He says the program
distributes those stations really well across the state, which means you don't have to worry about going really long distances in between cities before you can charge up.
The program plans to create 53 charging stations along major interstates like I-94 and I-39, in routes in northern Wisconsin, and in more rural areas of the state.
3 stations have been built. Most of them are in western and northwestern Wisconsin. 33 other stations have been contracted.
Sam says that Wisconsin is already behind neighboring states when it comes to EV infrastructure. He says that without the plan in play,
folks are going to travel to other states and, spend their tourism money or even other kind of commerce money in other states.
With the program, Wisconsin was set to get more than $78 million in federal funding. The state could lose around $55 million that WISC-TV has not yet received.
So I think it really could benefit all of Wisconsin if we can build this EV charging infrastructure out.
Reporting in Madison, Merrill Hubbard, News 3 Now.
Madison firefighters say 6 cars were damaged after a vehicle fire spread to 5 others. It happened Saturday morning in the Woodman's parking lot off Milwaukee Street. When firefighters arrived, they saw the first car on fire with multiple cars parked around it. The first car, which was considered totaled, the cars around it were minimally damaged. No one was in any of the vehicles, and officials do not suspect foul play. Crews in Verona battled an apartment fire this morning. The building was under construction at the time. Crews say builders called them when they noticed the flames on the city's north side. No one was hurt and nobody has been displaced. It is unclear how much damage was done to the property. The sheriff's office in Grant County says a corrections officer has died after being hit by a car in Illinois. 22-year-old Dylan Bellamy was a jailer in Grant County, as well as a member of the National Guard. Grant County Sheriff Craig Rukamp says Bellamy was training in Mattoon, Illinois, where his unit is based. Bellamy had been with the sheriff's office for just over a year. A traffic stop overnight escalated into a tense standoff with Maple Bluff and Madison police, as well as the Dane County Sheriff's Office. Around midnight, a Maple Bluff officer tried to pull over a vehicle, but the driver refused to stop. Multiple agencies responded as the man was armed with a hatchet and accompanied by a dog and resisted arrest. Officers used non-lethal measures to take the man into custody. Officers say he had warrants for OWI and bail jumping, among other charges, and now he is facing felony charges of battery to law enforcement, resisting, causing substantial harm, and failure to comply. Looking ahead now, Madison Metro will be expanding its services into Monona next month. The cities are holding an information session at the Monona Public Library to help riders get familiar with the new system. That meeting will be held this Sunday evening from 6:30 to 7:30. Attendees can expect to see staff from both Madison Metro and the Monona Transit Commission giving information about routes, key stops, and fares. A live look now at Beloit on our First Warn weather cameras. Beloit is one of 4 Wisconsin communities to receive funds for new transit buses, according to the Wisconsin Department of Administration. In total, the $12 million grant will fund the replacing and scrapping of old buses in Beloit, Janesville, Green Bay, and Wausau. The grant program is funded by a settlement between the federal government and Volkswagen. This after the German car maker admitted to cheating on federal admission tests between 2009 and 2016. That's a pretty peaceful shot of the sunset there in Beloit. Now to the story of a Sauk Prairie teacher and basketball player who is able to keep doing what he loves after a life-saving heart transplant. Meet Patrick Lee. He teaches at Sauk Prairie High School and plays in a recreational basketball league 3 times a week. Before class, in 2015, he was struggling on the court and thought it was due to his age. Instead, it was acute heart failure. Fast forward to 2023, when Lee gets a second chance thanks to the UW Health cardiac team.
Still get up, early in the morning. I get to school early in the morning. I can work out with basketball. I work out with lifting. I go through my school day. I interact with the kids. I have a good time. I come home, walk my dogs, walk with my wife, and I just back to routine, which is something that I really like and really thrive on, I think.
He says he is grateful to his donor and their family, and he thinks of them every day. Continued good health, Lee. Tax season is here, and across the country, people are finding out how much they get back or how much they'll owe. However, scammers are trying to take advantage of both sides. Scammers could be impersonating the IRS, claiming that you owe back taxes and pressure you into paying with a prepaid card or wire transfer, or claiming that they're issuing refunds but will use your information for identity theft. Remember, the IRS does not contact taxpayers by email, text, or social media messages. If you're unsure, contact the IRS directly. A full list of scams and ways to protect yourself are under this story on our website, channel3000.com. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers and Attorney General Josh Kaul are joining 21 other states in a lawsuit against cuts to federal research funding. The challenge is to the National Institute of Health, cutting reimbursements that support critical public and medical health research. Governor Evers calls these cuts unconscionable, warning that they could halt life-saving work on diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's. The lawsuit claims the funding cut is illegal and could challenge institutions like UW-Madison, which could lose $65 million this year. Wisconsin sophomore star John Blackwell is this week's guest on the Wisconsin Huddle. You can come out tonight to Pooley's Sports Pub to watch the live taping with sports director Zach Hanley with Blackwell. The free show starts tonight at 6:45. The big game last night saw big stars in the stands, and that included President Donald Trump, marking the first time a sitting president has attended a Super Bowl. Political reporter Will Keneally is here with more on how that sporting event impacts politics. Will?
Well, we may not have been able to afford a ticket to New Orleans this weekend, but for a politician to be seen at a game like that, it can provide an opportunity for them to connect with voters outside of politics.
It was a little bit of a surprise to me that it hadn't already happened, given how popular the NFL is.
Despite the Super Bowl being practically a national holiday, it took 59 years for a president to attend the big game. That's even with the political upsides.
It provides an incredible opportunity for the president to really get his name out there and have it attached to a really positive and popular event. You might say that they're trying to gain a sort of halo effect from associating themselves with the popularity of the Super Bowl.
Political scientist Jules Boykoff says it's not uncommon for politicians to raise their profile through sports. The leaders of Qatar did something similar for the 2022 World Cup.
But the fact of the matter is sports washing happens in the United States as well. It happened at the Super Bowl. It'll probably happen at the World Cup in 2026, Men's World Cup, and also the Olympics in Los Angeles in 2028.
That's something we saw in Wisconsin, too. Both VP candidates held events at Lambeau Field during the November election. Boykoff, who grew up in Madison and played professional soccer in Milwaukee, knows how important that can be for a Wisconsinite.
So when you saw Tim Walz, J.D. Vance doing it, it just goes to show you that this is a bipartisan effort to appear cool, if you will, by attaching yourself to sports.
That may be a unique opportunity for Trump specifically at an NFL event as well.
The NFL's even a little bit different because it sort of exudes this notion of hyper-masculinity as these men are smashing onto each other in the field. And so if he can attach himself onto that, look more masculine than he might otherwise appear to the general public. So there's all sorts of advantages for politicians to get involved in sports.
Now, he added that the demographics of the NFL viewership may skew a little bit more conservative, but events like the Super Bowl just get such a broad viewership, everybody ends up watching.
Will, thank you. A live look now at American Family Field, where the Brewers continue to honor announcing legend Bob Uecker. I think that's actually a picture of Philadelphia, isn't it? Yeah, that's not American Family Field. That's Philadelphia getting ready for the Eagles celebration for the Super Bowl champions. There we go. This is the honor. This is how they're honoring Bob Uecker. The Brewers have unveiled a patch the players will wear on their uniforms in memory of Mr. Baseball. It will appear on the sleeve of the Brewers' uniforms with Uecker's signature gold and navy plaid to match his various sport coats. The patch will make its debut in the Brewer preseason schedule next Saturday as they face the Cincinnati Reds in Phoenix. Well deserved. Next at 5, a handful of alert days are in our forecast. Snow is on the way, and Blaze helps us keep track. And then as egg prices continue to rise, one grocery store chain in our area is limiting how many you can buy. On Wall Street today, the Dow closed up 167 points, the Nasdaq was up 191, and the S&P 500 gained 40 points. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5, moving forward.
The U.S. government's headquarters for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau are closing down this week. The Bureau employees learned this weekend that the headquarters will not be open for the week. They were asked to work remotely, and employees were not told a reason why. The move comes days after Elon Musk tweeted out CFPB RIP with a tombstone emoji. The Bureau did not respond to CNN's request for comment. Trader Joe's has set a 1 dozen egg limit per day for its customers due to the bird flu. A company spokesperson says this will help stores prevent their shelves from going bare. Avian flu resulted in the deaths of more than 40 million, or roughly 11% of egg-laying birds last year. Trader Joe's isn't the only retailer attempting to cope with an egg supply shortage. The Agriculture Department predicts the cost of eggs will increase 20% before the end of the year. And now over to the weather. We're watching snow in our forecast tonight and later this week. Blaze is here with the details.
That's right. I mean, we really are coming off of a snow drought in January, so this is some much needed relief in terms of making up that snowpack that we would really like to see going into spring. Light snow tonight, but the real snowmaker is set to arrive as we go into Wednesday. So let's take a look at that light snow tonight first. As we continue to make our way through the rest of the afternoon into the overnight hours, that's when the snow is going to begin to move into northwestern parts of our coverage area and then continue to make its way south and eastward as we cross that midnight hour, with most of the snow wrapping up between, I would say, 5 and 7 o'clock in the morning across southeastern parts of the state. Further north and west, that snow will probably have wrapped up by about 5, maybe a few flurries for your morning commute. But in terms of total snow, maybe a pocket or two around an inch further north and west, where we find these light blue areas. That's where the snow will be making its way slowly, and it hasn't broken up by then. Further to the south, probably a quarter to a half of an inch at best. Again, this is not going to be our heavy snowmaker, but it is just going to put in a little dusting before the heavy wet snow arrives starting Wednesday. We're continuing to watch it take a somewhat similar path to that ideal blue one here of a Colorado low. While it may not follow this path exactly, what I would really like to see maybe in the next day or so is more of a north trend, especially when it gets to this part of its path, because then it will cross closer to Lake Michigan, and those winds coming off the lake will really help tap into that Lake Michigan water and bring us that lake effect snow. So as we walk into your Wednesday morning, that's when the snow is likely to begin, and then as we go throughout the day, that snow is going to continue. I'm pausing it at about 3:30 in the afternoon on Wednesday to just highlight these winds racing off of Lake Michigan. That's the reason why higher snow totals are expected to go along the Lake Michigan shoreline. That's where we find those winter storm watches for now. But some of that Lake Michigan moisture could make it back into central parts of our coverage area before that snow wraps up going into Thursday. So as of this afternoon, we're thinking a healthy amount of the coverage area picking up anywhere between 3 to 6 inches of snow. Closer to Lake Michigan in the dark blue, that's about 6 inches of snow or more. We're going to pause on putting this on social media because the first snow map that you see is likely the one that gets shared a lot, and we'll likely make some tweaks going into even this evening. And then as we get closer to that 36-hour mark, that's when we have a really high confidence. So we'll put it on social media to share with your friends and family then, but there's still just enough time that we're going to make some small changes, and we want you to get the latest updates in terms of this upcoming snow. And then Saturday, another chance for snow moves into the area. This one would continue to drop even more snow across the area, which is some great news. As I mentioned, we have been really itching for some snow here after a lackluster January, to say the least. The snow begins Friday night, Valentine's Day continues into your Saturday, and then it looks like we're a little bit cooler but dry as we go into our following work week.
All right, Blaze, thank you. Eggs, as we mentioned just a moment ago, are slowly becoming worth their weight in gold. When we come back, the story of some daring thieves behind a bold egg heist.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
Police in Seattle are trying to crack the case of a cafe theft where thieves made off with hundreds of valuable eggs. As Karina Vargas reports, this brazen heist was caught on security video.
Luna Park Cafe relies on eggs to keep their business running.
Since we're serving mostly egg here in the Luna Park Cafe, we have to struggle ourselves to get more, egg.
This loss doesn't make things easier. This is surveillance video of the thieves entering a refrigerated shed at the restaurant and loading up the truck. Police say 2 men got away with 540 eggs, as well as bacon, ground beef, blueberries, and liquid egg products, all totaling around $780.
And then we saw the guy with the van, and then we tried to block them. And then they just like almost crashed us, and then they just ran away.
This comes as egg prices continue to skyrocket with the ongoing bird flu outbreak. David Park, the general manager, says this has put a strain on their business.
We couldn't order any eggs, so we had to drive around all the markets to get the egg. But if you go to Costco or some grocery store, it's hard to get them. So it was very difficult.
Park believes they were targeted because of egg prices, since he says the thieves didn't bother to take any other expensive items.
But they didn't touch anything. They just stole the egg, liquid egg, and some meat. The champagne costs more, but they stole the egg.
Police are still trying to crack this case. They say no one has been arrested. They are asking if anyone has information to contact them right away.
And we'll get a final check on the weather when we come back.
U.S. military aircraft are being used for deportations to Central America and Asia. What's the cost to taxpayers? More than you might think.
And how a drop in fast food sales globally has wrecked the economy of a small town in Washington state. That's tonight's Eye on America on the CBS Evening News.
Finally at 5, cheese, of course, is a staple in Wisconsin and a cornerstone of our state's economy. Now, scientists in London are taking out the key ingredient, milk, from an animal researcher. Animal researchers are using lab-grown dairy proteins to mimic the taste and texture of traditional cheese. Oh. No, it'll never be the same. Not like. Supporters say these products could use less water and land, but companies face regulatory hurdles before their creations hit stores. It is fascinating science. And speaking of fascinating science,
I'm hungry.
We're watching the snow.
Yeah, it's about time. I know a lot of us have been itching for that snow, and it looks like our maybe biggest snow of the season so far arrives starting on Wednesday. We're looking at a healthy 3 to 6 inch possibility of snow across a wide area of our coverage area. But we're going to make some tweaks here in the next day, so stay with News 3 Now. We'll keep you guys updated. Small changes. And then that snow arrives on Wednesday. We dry out Thursday before more snow moves in to end Valentine's Day.
All right, Blaze, you keep us posted.
I
know you will. Thanks for watching, everybody. The CBS Evening News is coming up next. Hope to see you back here tonight at 6.